So the situation remains delicate, it remains dangerous because the ground remains unstable around these affected areas. Around the several buildings that have been built in the Dharali village, the ground remains unstable, and several of those buildings are now buried in the silt. So to even operate around those buildings so that you can bore in tunnels, so that you can bring in equipment, excuse me, so that you can bring in equipment, that is a very delicate situation. And given the fact that the situation remains very tenuous on the ground, the rescue teams are now on the edges of the village with the police teams, the army, as well as the rescue teams and the medical teams on standby. But several locals on the ground are also helping in the rescue and recovery operations to ensure that those who have survived can get to those relief camps that have been set up around this area of Dharali. At the same time, several NDRF teams have also been dispatched, one from Manera, one from Balkot and one from Dehradun. Further, 2 teams are in readiness as at Shastradhar airstrip for airlift operations, and relief camps have also been set up in Harshil and Jhala by the local administration. But as we were pointing out, the situation on the ground remains delicate. This is what one of the locals, Ajay Negi, had to tell me. गंभीर है ग्राउंड पे, आप हमें और क्या बता सकते हैं, क्या डिटेल्स दे सकते हैं? धराली विलेज में अभी सिचुएशन क्या है?
सर, हमसे 1 किलोमीटर दूर धराली मार्केट है, जहाँ पे काफी थोड़ा डैमेज हुआ है, और जो हमारी होटल है, प्रकृति होटल है, बिल्कुल सेफ है, हमारी जगह पे कोई दिक्कत नहीं है सर यहाँ पे
जी। आप
लेकिन हम तो जा नहीं पाए, लेकिन सुनने में ऐसा है कि वहाँ पे काफी मलबा आ गया, जो ऊपर से एक पानी का बरसाती नाला आता है, उस पे काफी मलबा आ चुका है सर
जी। और आप बताइए, इस विलेज में कितने लोग थे, कितने लोग रहते हैं?
सर, विलेज के बारे में तो मेरे को इतना आइडिया नहीं है, क्योंकि मैं यहाँ पे जॉब करता हूँ।
हाँ जी।
मैं यहाँ का लोकल रहने वाला नहीं हूँ सर
जी। आपने देखा, हाँ, आपने देखा जैसे वो पानी रश कर रहा था, कोई वार्निंग मिली थी लोकल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन से?
मैं वहाँ से थोड़ा दूर रहता हूँ सर, मैं कुछ देख नहीं पाया वहाँ पे, लेकिन जो यहाँ का अभी हालात है वो दिखा सकता हूँ आपको।
अच्छा, तो फिर आपके आसपास कोई मोबिलाइजेशन हुई है एसडीआरएफ की, एनडीआरएफ की, आर्मी की इस जगह पे जाने के लिए?
नहीं सर, हमने ऐसा कुछ देखा नहीं सर, क्योंकि हम अपोजिट साइड है यहाँ से सर, हम गंगोत्री की तरफ है, तो ऐसा हमने कुछ देखा नहीं। हमारा होटल से थोड़ा रोड से थोड़ा दूर है सर यहाँ पे
जी।
लेकिन मैं आपको अभी नदी का जो है अभी सिनारियो है वो देख लीजिए सर आप।
So that is the situation emerging from the ground, but those are the visuals on your screen, the moment of the cloudburst and the rush of water and silt which took place from the upper reaches of Uttarkashi as it flooded into that small village of Dharali. And on the right side, you can see the aftermath of the entire devastation, as several homes are now buried under the silt. And the rescue and recovery operations are still underway, but the rescue teams are waiting for the right moment to enter this damaged area, given the fact the ground is extremely unstable. As the locals are pointing out, more and more water is rushing into the area. It's maintaining the instability of the ground for any kind of boring of holes, for any movement of machinery. The ground is still unstable. So any heavy machinery that's moved into the area to bore into the buildings that are covered in the silt, they could get stuck in the mud itself, and that could cause more complications for the rescue teams. Now, currently the IBEX brigade of the Indian Army, also NDRF teams have been deployed, but they are at the edges of the village. Police teams also at the edges of the village along with the medical teams, because the situation remains unstable inside Dharali village. There's been crores and crores of property loss. The death toll is unimaginable, given the fact that this devastation hit in just 15 to 20 seconds. There was no initial warning, is what the locals are telling us, while there have been warnings in the past. In this case, there was no warning, and in 15 to 20 seconds, the water just rushed in. This was happening while there is a festival that's underway inside Dharali village, where about 250 to 300 people were gathered inside the market area and other adjoining areas, given the preparations for the festival. And without any warning, they didn't even have time to run out of the market. So the death toll, ladies and gentlemen, is unimaginable. We'll have to wait from the local authorities to get a particular number. But I'm joined by my colleague Arunima on the broadcast to get more details on the mobilization, given the fact that this entire incident has shocked the entire nation. This natural disaster once again during the monsoon season in the hill state of Uttarakhand. Arunima, what more details can you get for us when it comes to the mobilization for rescue and recovery?
The ITBP has also mobilized its own forces. There are 3 battalions of ITBP which are rushing to ground zero. NDRF has already airlifted its parties, and there are 2 more which are waiting for the green signal from the Uttarakhand state government. As and when they require more help from NDRF, they will be airlifted as well. The Indian Army is already on the ground, but inclement weather is a huge challenge, and therefore these teams which are flying in from Delhi or from other parts of Uttarakhand, they are flying in with their canine squad to look for any sign of life in the slush. They're also traveling with machinery which can detect, because the muck and the slush that has been brought down. Roofs have been flattened, buildings have been flattened. There could be people trapped. There's a market that has been taken down as well by the rampaging river. So there could be people still trapped, and the earliest you can identify them, more are the chances of rescue. So, these teams are all trying to move in as soon as possible. Of course, Uttarakhand Chief Minister, Mr. Dhami, has spoken to the Home Minister too, and the central government has offered all help that the state requires at this point.
Right, Arunima, thank you for getting us that update. So that is also a good piece of news that's coming in, where the ITBP has also been mobilized. Canine squads have also been mobilized, machinery to detect people inside the affected area, and more rescue teams are also pouring into the Dharali village area for the recovery operations. But inclement weather, as Arunima is pointing out, and given the instability of the ground where the water rushed in, that is also a cause for concern. And my colleague Greha also had a conversation with the Uttarakhand BJP chief Mahendra Bhatt on the situation on the ground. This is what he had to say.
भट्ट साहब, बहुत ही ये जो विजुअल सामने आ रहे हैं बहुत ही ज़्यादा डराने वाले विजुअल्स हैं। जिन लोगों को इससे इम्पैक्ट हुआ होगा उसकी हम क्या ही बात करें। लोकल्स इसके बारे में बयान कर रहे हैं कि अभी तक फ्लडिंग जो है वो जारी है। कुछ आपको सुनने में आया है?
जी, मैं सुबह जब से घटना हुई है लगातार हम लोग वहाँ संपर्क में है। मैंने मुख्यमंत्री से वार्ता भी की है। मुख्यमंत्री जी जिला प्रशासन से लगातार संपर्क में है। NDRF, SDRF की टीमों को भेज दिया है। जिला प्रशासन की जो वहाँ आपदा से संबंधित जितने भी तंत्र हैं उनको ठीक करने के लिए कहा गया है। चाहे स्वास्थ्य का क्षेत्र हो, चाहे हवाई माध्यम से वहाँ की जो कैजुअलिटी जो हुई है या जो घायल लोग हैं उनको किस प्रकार से ठीक स्थानों पर पहुँचाया जा सके, इस प्रकार के तंत्र की व्यवस्था बनाई जा रही है। बहुत ही दुखद है और लगातार 48 घंटे से बारिश हो रही थी, लेकिन कल्पना नहीं थी कि इतनी बड़ी घटना होगी। अभी कितने लोग इसमें हताहत हुए हैं, कितने जख्मी हैं, उस पर सरकार नजर रखे हुए। प्रशासन तंत्र पूरी तरह लग चुका है और हम पहली प्राथमिकता जो लोग दबे हैं उनको निकालने की है। उस दिशा में सरकार प्रयासरत है। जहाँ तक संगठन का विषय, मैंने अपने कार्यकर्ताओं के अपने अध्यक्ष जी से कहा है कि सब लोग वहाँ जाकर और जो भी सहायता कर सकते हैं सब लोगों के घायलों की दृष्टिकोण से उस सहायता में सब लोग सहभागी बने।
बट भट्ट जी, वहाँ जाना ही तो मुश्किल हो रहा है क्योंकि ये जानने में आया है कि SDRF और आर्मी भी अभी पहुँच नहीं पाई है। बारिश अभी तक हो रही है।
मैं समझ रहा हूँ, लेकिन क्योंकि पहाड़ में जब ये घटनाएं होती हैं उसके वैकल्पिक रास्ते निकाले जाते हैं, लोगों को वहाँ पहुँचाया जाए ठीक प्रकार से लोग सुरक्षित निकले। इसलिए हम सब प्रयासरत हैं और मैं कह सकता हूँ कि बहुत जल्दी सब प्रकार की व्यवस्थाओं को स्थान पर पहुंचाया जाएगा। रास्ते बंद होने के बाद भी कैसे हम वैकल्पिक मार्गों से वहाँ पहुंच सकते हैं, इसके लिए पूरा तंत्र बना दिया गया। जिलाधिकारी से माननीय मुख्यमंत्री की वार्ता हुई है। बहुत जल्दी हम उस स्थान तक पहुंचकर और सब प्रकार की व्यवस्था जुटाने का काम करेंगे।
कोई और तरीका है गंगोत्री से टीम्स के जाने का, ताकि जो लोग वहाँ पे फंसे हुए हैं उनको ऊपर ले आया जा सके?
सब प्रकार की व्यवस्थाओं की चर्चा हो रही है। जिला प्रशासन उस पर सतर्क है। क्या क्या उसके लिए रास्ते निकाले जा सकते हैं, उस रास्तों को करने का प्रयास किया जा रहा है।
जैसे की सूचना है जैसे मिली है, हमारी जो सबसे नज़दीक की SDRF की टीम थी वो मौके पर पहुंच गई है। इसके अलावा बाकी की 2 यूनिट्स हैं वो वहाँ पहुँचने वाली है। SCOC के सुपरविजन में एक कोऑर्डिनेटेड तरीके से रेस्क्यू का वर्क किया जा रहा है। जो आसपास की NDRF है, आर्मी है, उनकी टीम्स जो है वो भी रवाना हो रही हैं और मौके पर पहुंच रही हैं। इसके अलावा जो हमारी SDRF की बटालियन हेडक्वार्टर में जो स्पेशलाइज्ड इक्विपमेंट्स को जो इस डिजास्टर में काम आ सकते हैं उनको भी हम लोग एक जियो के सुपरविजन में रवाना कर रहे हैं। और इसमें जहाँ पर भी लग रहा है कि जो भी एजेंसी जो हैं इसमें हेल्प कर सकती हैं, एससीओसी जो है उसको क्लोजली कोऑर्डिनेट कर रहा है। सभी की सभी टीम्स मौके पर पहुँच रही हैं और एक कोऑर्डिनेटेड तरीके से एक रेस्क्यू वर्क किया जा रहा है।
And those are the visuals on your screen and the reactions which are coming in as the rescue and recovery operations are set to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, remember that we don't know how many people have died in this massive devastation that has happened in Uttarakhand. There's no official figure so far, but you can see the devastation on your screens as the water after this cloud burst rushed in and just destroyed all these buildings, the roads, as well as the different cell towers in the area. Connectivity is also a huge cause for concern. And let's take you through these visuals. That is the moment of the devastation on your screen. In just 15 to 20 seconds is what the locals are telling us. The water just rushed in and destroyed all of these homes. You can see several of these homes in the area have now been completely destroyed. The roads have been inundated, and because these are hilly areas, these aren't pakka roads, and you can see that how they've been washed away. And this was happening in this area was a market where a local festival was currently underway. Around 250 to 300 people were reportedly gathered in that market area, and you can see that the water rushed in and completely swept away that market area. Is what the locals are telling us, that this just took 15 to 20 seconds for the water to come in and destroy all of these buildings. And you can even see the roads. There are very few roads leading up into this devastated area. So that's also a huge challenge for the rescue and recovery operations, given the mobility around this area is very limited along with the inclement weather. Now, this is another challenge that is emerging in the wake of this disaster. You can see in these visuals how so much silt has gathered in this area and almost covering all of these buildings over here. You can see these. You can see the roofs of so many buildings just poking out of the silt, which means that the massive structure is below all of the silt that's gathered in this area. And this ground is completely unstable as we speak, because more water is flowing in to this area, as the locals are pointing out, as rescue and recovery operations and the teams are currently on the outskirts of the village. But you can see like how these rooftops are poking out of the silt, so the massive structure is below. So the movement of any machinery, the movement of any number of teams, this will become precarious because the ground is completely unstable. And you can get a better picture of the instability of the ground over here. You can see this entire area is where the water flowed, and now the water has settled over there. This is all silt. It's fine sand, ladies and gentlemen, and it's all now covered this entire area. Any movement to assess the damage along these homes will be extremely precarious, because the movement of teams and heavy machinery, they can get completely trapped in the mud and they can even sink into the mud. So that's why the rescue teams currently, the army, the SDRF as well as the NDRF, they are currently on the outskirts of the village, because more and more water is flowing in, which makes this entire area unstable, and the movement of the rescue and recovery teams also becomes precarious. We're getting some more breaking news as more and more rescue teams are pouring into the area. Another team of the ITBP's 12th Battalion has also been rushed in from the Matli area in Uttarakhand to arrive at the cloudburst site. That's what we are learning as the rescue operations are underway. Arunima has been pointing out the different rescue teams that have been roped in for the recovery operations on the ground. Another team of the ITBP's 12th Battalion has been rushed in from the Matli area to conduct the operations on the ground. But once again, let's take you through this visual on your screen. Now, this is the silt that covers this entire area, which makes any rescue operation completely precarious. Arunima is with us on the broadcast. Arunima, as we were pointing out, more and more teams being roped in, more and more machinery being airlifted as well as deployed in the area for the rescue and recovery operations. But the ground is extremely unstable, and the inclement weather also posing more challenges.
Yes, and you know, the river has charted its own course. If you see the initial visual that was shot from that area by residents, the river actually did not follow in its own riverbed, but it charted a new course, flattening a market, flattening villages. So known pathways or known roads, etc., are no longer available. So now the teams that are going in for rescue and relief, they will have to figure out which is the path to take, which, part of the land there is sturdy enough to allow them, even on foot, or their vehicles to reach closest to the disaster site. So it is an exercise which is being compounded by the disaster that has been unfolded, and also because of the weather condition that has made it more challenging. Now, a 16-member team from ITBP has already arrived at the cloudburst site, and there's also a team from the 12th Battalion that has been rushed from Matli. Together, 3 battalions from ITBP are helping in rescue. NDRF too has sent in 3 teams, plus the Indian Army. So together they are hoping to aid the state government in this massive relief and rescue operation, but it's a big challenge because of the ground situation.
Absolutely, and we're getting some more details where Union Home Minister Amit Shah, the unfortunate incident of the cloudburst in Dharali village in Uttarkashi, he has expressed condolences on the loss of life and property in the disaster and expressed sympathy for the affected families. Amit Shah has spoken to Chief Minister of Uttarakhand, Pushkar Singh Dhami, over the phone and got a detailed information about the incident as well as the situation on the ground, and has assured all possible central assistance to the state government. Now, in view of the seriousness of the situation, the Home Minister has directed the NDRF and other relief agencies to work promptly. Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami has also postponed his tour and left for Dehradun immediately. Home Minister Amit Shah is in constant touch with the state government, and immediate and necessary assistance is being ensured in the affected area by the central government. Arunima continues to be with us on the broadcast. So Arunima, at the end of the day, it seems that the mobilization has been prompt because the locals are also telling us police teams, army teams, as well as medical teams are still currently on the outskirts of the village because they're not stepping in because more and more water is flowing in, and as you were pointing out, the issue of inclement weather. Also the fact that it just took 15 to 20 seconds for this devastation to unfold, and so many of these homes are now buried under the silt. It's a daunting task ahead for the rescue teams.
Yes, there was hardly any warning, and for a flash flood of this proportion, people were not prepared at all. The people who made the video, I think some of those eyewitnesses have joined us on our channel as well. They were at a higher ground, and as is the norm, as is the SOP,